Hi, in the previous video we have done accounting keys, which is also called as tax processing. We have created accounting keys for input tax, and now we will create for output tax, and we'll continue the class after creating output tax. Let us understand few concepts about the accounting keys first. Accounting keys in SAP FICO are essential in managing GST related transactions because they determine how taxes are calculated, posted to the appropriate GL accounts, and reported in financial statements and GST returns. By assigning accounting keys to tax codes and configuring them properly, business ensures accurate tax posting and compliance with GST regulations. Here, as I have already said in the previous video, where tax processing keys is also called as accounting keys. Here, in the second line, we can see that accounting keys to tax codes. That means by assigning accounting keys to tax codes means these accounting keys which we are creating now will be assigned to tax codes. Tax codes is nothing but the tax rates. In India, we have 18% GST, 12%, 16% like this. Based on the separate types of goods, there are separate percentages of taxes. Tax rate is nothing but tax codes. In SAP, tax rates is called as tax codes. So by assigning the accounting keys to tax codes, we can post the tax related transactions in SAP. So now we'll go to SAP. I have already shown you the path in the previous video. Now I'll show it again. From SAP Easy Access, in the command bar, type SPRO and click enter. Click on SAP reference ING. Go to Financial Accounting, Financial Accounting Global Settings, and then tax on sales or purchases, basic settings. Here we have check and change settings for tax processing. Execute this symbol by clicking on IMG activity for check and change settings for tax processing. Here we will create accounting keys. Tax processing is also called as accounting keys. First we will see what are the accounting keys which we have already created. I have created 2P1, that is for input tax. Here you can see that 3 accounting keys which have already been created in the last video. Input CGST, input SGST, and input IGST. Now we will create for output CGST, output SGST, and output IGST. SAP have given us predefinedly for output GST, for output taxes. The processing key which the SAP have given us for output tax is MWS. Click on position and type the process key as MWS and click on continue. Here you can see that output tax is already been created by SAP. We can copy it by clicking the checkbox for MWS. Check the box for MWS and click on Copy As. Copy As is in the top of the screen. The shortcut key for Copy As is F6. As now I am creating it for output tax, that means the output tax is levied only on the sales. So sales is accounts receivable. So select the process and edit the process field as 2R1. I am giving R because this is receivables. And description, give as output CGST for the company code 222. So here you can see that tax type is already selected as output tax, and posting indicator is 2, where we can see the separate line item for this tax. Whenever this tax is charged on the any of the goods, this tax amount will be a separate line item. A separate GL account will be automatically extracted by the SAP while we are posting the transaction. After giving the description as output CGST 222, click on copy. Copy is in the right bottom of the screen and click on save. Click. Save is also in the right bottom of the screen, and click on continue to save the transport request. Now you can see that in the first line 2R1 process key is already created for output CGST. Now check the box for 2R1 first line and click on copy as, and give the process field as 2R2. This process key I am creating it for output SGST 222. Give the description as output SGST 222 and click on copy, and now click on save. Now again select the process key 2R2 in the first line and click on copy as, and edit the process field as 2R3. This process key I am creating it for output IGST. Edit the description field as output IGST 222 and click on copy and click on save. Now if you scroll up, you can see that 2R1, 2R2, 2R3 is created. 2R1 is for output CGST, 2R2 is for output SGST, 2R3 is for output IGST. In the same way, we have also created 2P1, 2P2, 2P3. After clicking copy and save, go back to SAP Easy Access. Now we have another configuration which we need to do. The next configuration is tax procedure. Let us understand what is tax procedure and why it is helpful for GST configurations. Tax procedure ensures that the correct tax rates are applied during transactions and that taxes are correctly posted to the relevant accounts. The tax procedure is made up of different steps, with each step representing a condition for calculating taxes. For example, there might be steps for determining the tax jurisdiction, calculating input and output taxes, and determining whether a tax is deductible or not. The meaning of this slide is we will define the steps how to calculate the tax. That means the tax should be calculated on the base amount or on the total value of the invoice. Total value of, suppose for example, in whenever we go to the any hotel, there we can see that on the food item of the price, on the price of the food item, CGST and SGST is levied, and again there will be surcharge which is levied, a tax on tax, that is a tax on tax, that means that is levied on CGST and SGST only, not on the food item. Surcharge is like a tax on tax, that means already a tax is levied on the food item. For example, food item cost is around 200 rupees and CGST and SGST together is 10%. So on 200 there is a 10% CGST and SGST, that comes to the amount of 20 rupees. So on 200, 20 rupees is tax, and surcharge, for example, surcharge is 10%. On this 20 rupees of the tax amount, surcharge is levied, that is 10%, which amounts to 2 rupees. So here we can see that there are three steps involved. First is CGST and SGST is levied on the food item and surcharge is levied on the CGST and SGST. So this is how the steps goes. So these steps we will be defining in the tax procedure. And in the next slide, for tax procedure, there is another explanation. In the first line, the slide says the tax procedure is configured to apply the correct GST tax rates based on the type of transaction, customer, and location. It will have steps to calculate CGST, SGST, or IGST depending on whether the transaction is interstate or intrastate. The GST tax procedure defines how the system calculates tax on sales, purchases, and input or output tax for GST. This is all about the tax procedure. Now we will configure tax procedure in SAP. Go to SAP. In SAP, from SAP Easy Access screen, in command bar, type SPRO and click enter. Click on SAP reference ING. Go to financial accounting and then financial accounting global settings. Tax on sales or purchases. Basic settings. Here we have check calculation procedure. Just below the basic settings. Click on IMG activity for check calculation procedure. Double click on define procedures. Define procedures is in the third option of the pop-up. This is the pop-up which we have received after clicking on check calculation procedures in the IMG activity. Double click on define procedures. Here we can see that there are so many procedures which has already been created by so many users in this server. So in the same way, we need to create one for us. Click on new entries, which is in the top of the screen just beside the command bar. Here is the new entries option. The T code for new entries is F5. The shortcut key for new entries is F5. Click on new entries. Give the procedure name. I'll give the procedure name as W or X. I'll give the procedure name of X tax IN and give the description as tax procedure 222. After giving the description, click on save in the right bottom of the screen. Click on continue to save the transport request. And now check the box for X tax IN and click on control data in the left side of the screen. Here we have a dialog structure pane. Under the procedures folder, we have control data folder. Double click on control data. So here we will be defining the steps, how to calculate the taxes. In the previous steps, we have created condition type as well as accounting key. Those two we will link it in this screen. To create a steps, click on new entries. Here we need to give the step number. In the first column, this is the step number. First step number I'll give as 100. And in the same line, under condition type column, give as BASB. BASB is the base amount. If you click on search and scroll down, we can see the BASB has been already been given by SAP. That we have not configured, but it is given by SAP. This is base amount. Double click on BASB to get selected. And in the next line, give the step number as 110. This is the step number 110. And condition type, I have already created the condition type. We have created the condition types for input taxes as well as output taxes. So for input taxes, I have created the condition type as 2AP. So here is 2AP. Double click on 2AP. So the step number 110 states that the condition type is 2AP and it should calculate the tax on the step number 100. BASB means the product cost. For example, the food item. The food item cost is around 200. So that is the step number 100. The food item cost will be a step number 100 and 2AP, the step number 110 is the tax on the step number 100. So to calculate tax on the step number 100, here we need to give in from column. In the second line, we need to give as 100 because we are calculating the tax on the food item. So food item is in the step number 100. That is why we have given step number 100. Now if you scroll to the right, the bottom scroll bar, if you scroll to the right, you can find accounting keys. So in accounting keys, in the second line, give us the accounting key which we have created as 2P1. Scroll down, you can find 2P1. Double click on 2P1, that is input CGST 222. And next step is 120. The step number is 120. Here we need to select the condition type, which is input SGST. Scroll down to 2AP2. Double click on 2AP2, that is for input SGST. So even SGST is also to be calculated on the food item only. It might be a food item, it might be a goods, or it might be any services, but anything which we are purchasing it will be a base amount. The cost of the goods will be a will be under step number 100, that is base amount. So in step number 120 we are calculating SGST, and SGST should be calculated on the step number 100. In the same line, in accounting keys, select 2P2, which we have already created, that is for input SGST. Double click on 2P2 input SGST to get selected, and in the fourth line I'll give step number 130. This is step number 130. What does this step do? This will calculate the tax for input IGST. Select the condition type, click on search, scroll down until you find 2P3, that is input IGST. Even IGST should also be calculated on the step number 100. Step number 100 is the price of the good. In the same line, give the accounting key which we have created for input IGST, that is 2P3. Double click on 2P3, that is input IGST. And now we have done the steps for input tax. In the same way, we need to give the step number for output tax also. There are three types of output taxes again: output CGST, output SGST, and output IGST. Now give the step number as 140. This is the step number 140, and in the step number 140 we are calculating output CGST. Select the condition type and click on search. Scroll down until you find output CGST, that is 2AR. Double click on 2AR. Even this tax should also be calculated on the base amount only. The base amount is the food cost, which is under step number 100. That is the reason I have given step number 100. In the same line, if you scroll to the right, you will find accounting key. In accounting key, select the output CGST. Scroll down until you find 2R1. 2R1, which I have created for output CGST. Double click on 2R1, and in the next line give the step number as 150 and select the condition type column for the 150 step. Click on search, scroll down, double click on 2AR2, that is for output SGST. Even output SGST is also to be calculated on step number 100. That is what I have given now, step number 100 in the from step. And in the same row, scroll to the right to accounting key column. Click on start search, scroll down, you'll find 2R2. This is for output SGST. Double click on output SGST, and the next line is step number 160. For 160th step, we are calculating output IGST. In condition type column, for 160th step, click on search and scroll down. You will find 2R3, that is output IGST. Double click on output IGST, and even IGST should also be calculated on step number 100. I am giving step number 100 in from step, and in the same row go to accounting key column, click on search, scroll down until you find 2R3, which we have created for output IGST. Double click on output IGST, and this is how we are defining the steps. After giving accounting key, click enter and click on save. Save is in the right bottom of the screen. So now the data is saved. Go back, again click on back, again click on back. Now click on position. Give the procedure name which we have created, that is X tax IN, and click enter. Now we can see in the first line X tax IN is been created. Check the box for X tax IN and double click on control data. Here we can see that the data which we have configured and saved. And now go back. This is how we create tax procedures. And again go back. Close this pop-up. Now we have another configuration where we will assign this tax procedure which we have created now to the country. In SAP, for India, there is only one country. For India, they have created only one country, that is India. We don't have any other countries. This is the configuration which we are doing at client level. So whenever you post any entries or whenever you do any transactions, check that your tax procedure is been assigned to the country which you are posting. In our example, in our course, we are using India, so that we need to see whether the calculation procedure which we have created has been assigned to the country. To assign country or region to calculation procedure, from display IMG screen, go to accounting, go to financial accounting. In financial accounting, go to financial accounting global settings, and then tax on sales or purchases, basic settings. Here we have assign country or region to calculation procedure. Click on IMG activity for assign country or region to calculation procedure. Now we can see that all the countries which are there in SAP. Scroll down until you find India. So here is India. We can see that our tax procedure is not assigned to this India. For India, only one tax procedure can be assigned. So whenever you do the configurations or whenever you do the transactions, see that your procedure is been assigned. The transaction code for this screen is OBBG. Now select the field for procedure under India and click on search. Scroll down to the bottom. Here you can see X tax IN which we have created for company code 222. Double click on X tax IN. Now you can see that X tax IN is been assigned to the India. Click on save. Click on continue. Now the data is saved.